Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. I very welcome my friends and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. And welcome to Thursday's edition of the DC Movie and TV Daily. And today I want to talk about New Line Cinema because, of course, New Line Cinema are now pretty much running and making and developing constantly DC movies, which for me is really, really exciting because we are in this exciting era of DC films. So let's go back. In fact, what happened with Justice League, the Justice League debacle, really did DC films a big favour. Now, a lot of people fighting for the Snyder Cut, like me, won't agree with that totally, but you'll get my meaning. So in this car crash of a situation where this film was hemorrhaging so much money because they got rid of Zack, they brought in Joss Whedon, and they wanted him to reshoot, they wanted him to make it smiley and happy and very Marvel. We know the story, it's boring how many more times, right? Okay, so it didn't work out, it flopped. Now, whose fault was all this? Well, it was Kevin Tsujihara's fault, the then ruler, if you like, of Warner Brothers Films, and he made some very, very big mistakes. But we don't want to go over those mistakes again because we know them already. But one of the best things he ever did, and the members of the Warner Brothers board, or whoever makes these decisions, decided to hand over DC Films to New Line Cinema. Now, New Line Cinema is a very interesting, diverse company that's been around longer than you think. I mean, it was responsible for the Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy Krueger films I grew up with in the 80s. It made a little film called The Hidden, but it's been around for a very, very long time and has always made very interesting films. And of course, it was involved with the production of The Lord of the Rings, the original Lord of the Rings trilogy from Peter Jackson as well. So they've got a lot of kind of notches on their belts, if you want to use that phrase. So what's really interesting to me, right? When this was announced, nobody really kind of noticed anything. Nobody really said anything. And really, if you go to the accounts with millions of subscribers, hundreds of thousands of subscribers who talk about DC, who talk about films, they're not really talking about New Line Cinema and what they're doing here. Because what New Line Cinema are doing, no pun intended, they're changing cinema to what it was, which is kind of a franchise where people come in to be entertained and talk about the content and not how much box office a film's making. For many, many years now, since the first Avengers movie, people have been obsessing over Disney's success and how they make $1 billion a movie and how they're beating everyone, including Warner Brothers, to the punch in the terms of finance. That's going to carry on for a little bit longer, there's no question about that. But slowly, especially after people see the Joker movie in just about a month's time. I think it's just under a month's time now. Yesterday was a month, right? And Warner Brothers were advertising that and marketing that fact. Well done to them. But Joker movie is going to change everything. But ultimately, it's New Line Cinema who are changing everything. So this is a really, really unique little company, with a big responsibility now. We saw that Walter Hamada and New Line came in because basically Aquaman was already in production when they took over DC, but there were some changes made, and I've discussed this many times. I don't think an accurate comic book costume was going to be worn by Jason Momoa's Aquaman if Walter Hamada and New Line Cinema didn't take over. I don't think we would have had an accurate Shazam costume and an accurate Shazam interpretation, certainly from the New 52 era, if New Line didn't take over. And now you've got this Joker movie, and this is a film I've seen a 90-minute test screening of. I'm telling you it again. I know I've seen a 90-minute test screening of it, and I loved it. I was one of the first people to tell you this film is going to be honestly. Remember where you were when you first saw Pulp Fiction. That's all I'm going to say. But basically, this is a groundbreaking film. So New Line Cinema, basically, how do they make films? New Line Cinema make films on a very low budget, but they make really good films on a low budget. So they're responsible for directors like David F. Sandberg, who was involved with Annabelle Creations and that franchise, right? James Wan, who was already involved with New Line Cinema. So basically, they have a kind of, how can I put it? they have kind of a factory where they create these indie directors, or they grab these indie directors and they give them an opportunity to make bigger films, and then slowly they come off the conveyor belt, and basically what will happen in the future, they'll end up making big movies. Now, in terms of Todd Phillips, I don't know where he's come from. I know that the Hangover movies were Warner Brothers. I don't know if he originated at New Line Cinema as well, but it wouldn't surprise me. There's one thing for sure, that most of these directors and writers are coming from New Line Cinema, aka Christina Hodgson, who is now kind of, she's written Birds of Prey, she's going to write Batgirl, and she's going to write The Flash as well. So again, she's from that New Line Cinema conveyor belt. She also wrote the Bumblebee movie as well, didn't she? What a good job she did with that movie. So very talented people who make good, no, not good, great films. And when I say great films, I'm not talking about the first Avengers. I'm talking greater. I'm talking like a film that leaves a stamp on you. And this is what New Line Cinema is now. Joker movie is a film that's going to leave a stamp on you. So we are in very, very interesting times. And the DC movie universe is going in some very interesting directions. We've already discussed in previous videos how there will be a DCEU and a DC Black Label. And what's interesting to me is kind of what directions we're going here. You think you got the Joker movie, then you've got Birds of Prey. And in fact, when I opened my Shazam box set the other day, because I've only just had a chance to open it, and there's like this coming soon, Birds of Prey, the emancipation of one Harley Quinn, and you just get excited. This is the next chapter. This is the next movie. Okay, it's not a chapter. It's not a continuation, but it is a continuation for Harley. We saw her in Suicide Squad. Then we're seeing her again. And very soon, she starts production on James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. And again, that's really, really, really exciting as well. So, you just think about it, and you think about what's going on and what New Line Cinema are achieving here. Walter Hamada have brought in James Gunn. A lot of people don't like James Gunn. I like James Gunn as a filmmaker. I think he did a really good first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. He dropped the ball with the second one. There's no question about it. It was an okay movie. There's some fun moments, but the problem is you do something quite unique with a first film. Then how do you top that? Do you do the same thing again? He's trying to avoid it. The music's still there, but I think that's the problem maybe with James Gunn. Maybe he's a one-trick pony. I don't know. I wouldn't like to say that, but we shall see. But I'm certainly looking forward to his the Suicide Squad take, because that's very exciting, because they seem to be bringing in characters from the DC universe left, right, and centre, and again, that's very, very exciting. So if we go back to our conversation about New Line Cinema, it's very, very obvious to me that DC movies are in very, very good, exciting hands. And you just don't know what the next announcement's going to be. And there's a lot of them. And it's very, very exciting. There's lots of things going on with the Batman now. We've already had the Robert Pattinson interview, which was a bolt out the blue, but really refreshing and interesting to hear some of the things he had to say as well. We know that Joker movie is coming. Next year is a massive year, not just for DC films going into cinema and in theatres, but films in production. We already know that. So this film universe is just building itself up and up and up. And we haven't even discussed on this video anyway how they're taking the Shazam universe even forward with an ultimate meeting with Black Adam. Imagine that time when you see Black Adam on screen with his iconic Black Adam costume. It's going to be awesome. And in the first Shazam film, basically, Shazam is going to fight Black Adam. It's a build-up. It's beautiful. It's going to work. And, they've got a lot of plans. And I say, in the end of the day, New Line Cinema will be hailing. No, sorry, let's start again. Got my words mixed up. It's very early in the morning here. But I think we'll all be hailing, not just DC fans, but all movie fans will be hailing New Line Cinema. There will come a time when New Line Cinema are hailed of the pioneers and the saviours of cinema. So have we got any DCEU news? Yes, talking about the Suicide Squad, which I was. I blanked out a bit, but I was trying to think about what I had to tell you, and now I remember. There's rumours that Zatanna will be in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Now, for me, this is really exciting. She's a great character. She can obviously do magic. She's awesome. The rumour comes from Grace Randolph, though, so it was fun while it lasted. Hey, we'll see, we'll see. I would absolutely love to see Zatanna in this movie in the DC universe. I think we're going to see a lot of new characters kind of coming into different kind of film, not necessarily it being their film, but kind of sharing the screen with the main character, which is again a very, very interesting premise. But for me personally, for a DC movie fan right now, we are in very, very exciting times, and we should be excited. Excited. We should. This is a massive moment for us. We've suffered and struggled with the negativity for so long. I mean, the negativity is not totally going away. There's no question about that, especially from MCU stands. But that's fine. We can take that. And when I talk about negativity, I don't talk about Zack Snyder. I talk about the reaction to Zack Snyder's films. We'll always cherish Batman v Superman and Man of Steel. They're here. We're always going to hail those films. But we needed someone to come in who understands how to lead a franchise of movies. And Walter Hamada and New Line Cinema are the perfect fit for DC.